Alright, so going into game two, like I said, I know I need to be more aggressive. I can't just play so passively um, if I'm going to win two straight games. So let me skip ahead here. Alright, so I decide to lead with Torkoal and Venusaur, assuming that he's probably going to go with the same lead since it worked out for him in the last game. So I'm going to go with Torkoal, Venusaur, and start putting on some pressure right away. So that's my goal here. The reason I didn't want to lead Torkoal Venusaur the first game was in case he leads with Moltres. That puts me in a really bad spot. Now, if I'm expecting max Airstream in that case, I could switch into Regirock. Or I could just try to put the Moltres to sleep. But I didn't feel comfortable with that in my first game. Like I said, I didn't want to make any silly mistakes and, lose the game right away. So you can see I'm really having a hard time thinking about this. I was really close to going with the same team that I went with the first time. But I think I go back in these last few seconds here and I do lead Torkoal Venusaur from what I remember. I do, so at the last second here I switch back to Torkoal Venusaur, and it's a good thing I did because it worked really well for me. Alright, so, but you can see it's a tough decision for me. I'm still worried, okay, what if he does go into the Moltres? But I'm like, no, he's probably going to lead the same thing. It worked for him. And, yeah, go with Torkoal Venusaur and put that pressure on him right away. So let's see, I think he led with the same thing. He did. Okay, so this ends up being a great lead for me right away. So now, I'm just putting on a ton of pressure with him, or against him. I can't remember what I do with Torkoal. Like, protecting Torkoal makes sense right away. Oh, and I just go for Eruption. So here's what I'm thinking is, you can see I'm being really aggressive. Like I said, I knew coming into this match that I needed to be more aggressive, so I needed to really come at him. I do end up going Burning Jealousy, and I wish that I would have gone for the Eruption like I had planned. So the reason I clicked Eruption right away is because this is a worse lead than he had last time, and last time he switched out the Metagross right away, so I'm thinking, okay, he's going to switch the Metagross out. I'm going to go Max Ooze, boost my special attack, and hit him with an Eruption on this first turn. But then I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to be more aggressive, but I don't want to be stupid. What if he does Max Quake into Torkoal? Torkoal can survive a Max Quake, and then Burning Jealousy would burn the Metagross, and that would put me in a phenomenal shape. So, yeah, it's tempting to go Max Ooze Eruption, but Max Ooze Burning Jealousy is still going to do a lot of damage, regardless of what my opponent does, and it's a little bit safer. It's still aggressive, it's still going to do a lot of damage, but it's a little bit safer in case he does try to Max Quake the Torkoal. I could potentially get a burn on him. So, I should skip these Dynamaxes. He decides to Dynamax as well, so now I'm thinking, okay, Burning Jealousy was a good choice. I'm glad I didn't click Eruption because Eruption isn't going to do a whole lot of damage, right? So, he puts up a light screen. Makes sense. I go for Max Ooze into the Grimmsnarl. Okay, that doesn't take out the Grimmsnarl because of the light screen. But it does a ton of damage. It boosts both of our special attacks. And, oh, he goes for Max Rockfall. Okay, I forgot that he had Max Rockfall. So, he goes for Rockfall. Smart move for him. That gets rid of the Sun. So, my fire moves aren't going to do as much damage. Venusaur is not as fast. And because I don't have the boost from the Sun, the Grimmsnarl survives, but the Sand takes him out anyways. Oh no, it doesn't. Wow, Grimmsnarl hung on. I thought that took him out. Okay, so that was actually really big there that the Grimmsnarl survived that even with the sand. So you can see if he hadn't done Rockfall, if the sun had stayed up, Grimmsnarl would have been knocked out. So that was huge. The Grimmsnarl survives. But now what I'm thinking, okay, his Grimmsnarl has Scary Face. So he's probably going to Scary Face Venusaur this turn. So I want to get Torkoal out of here so that next turn I can bring him back in to get the speed boost back. Because what happens here, he does Scary Face on Venusaur. That makes his Metagross faster than my Venusaur. Alright, so I switch into Dusclops. Because, like I said, I don't want Torkoal to die. I want to be able to get that sun back up. He goes Scary Face. That makes his Metagross faster. And then he goes for Max Quake, which is really smart. Gets him a special defense boost. But Dusclops is able to take that pretty well. Okay, now I return the favor with a Max Quake of my own. And that does a good chunk of damage here. So, like I was saying the last turn, the sand is now going to take out Grimmsnarl, so he cannot Scary Face me again. So I can switch back into Torkoal, which basically makes me at neutral speed because I'm -2 with the Scary Face, but with Chlorophyll, with the sun being up, that doubles my speed, so it puts me basically back at neutral speed, which now makes me again faster than the Metagross. Okay, so that's why I took out the Torkoal. Obviously I didn't want it to faint from a Max Quake, but also to be able to get that sun back up. Now he brings out Rillaboom. So what I'm thinking he could possibly do here is protect the Metagross, because he did have Protect on the Metagross. Again, we can see each other's team sheets, so I know that he has Protect on the Metagross. So what I'm thinking is, okay, he saw me click Max Ooze. What I'm thinking is, he knows I can switch back into Torkoal. So he might protect that Metagross. So I'm going to try to take advantage of his Protect and just Max Ooze the Rillaboom. And the good news is that also boosts my special attack again. Alright, so he took a while to make his decision. Alright, so here comes Torkoal. So again, this makes me go before Metagross now. Now he doesn't protect the Metagross. Not sure what move he was going for with Rillaboom, probably knockoff. And I don't know that the critical hit matters there. Like, yeah, he had Light Screen up, but it was +1. Rillaboom's special defense is not very good. I don't know if the crit mattered or not, but either way I get the crit and I knock out the Rillaboom. His Max Quake takes out the Torkoal, but I'm still in great shape now. It's a 3-on-2. He's lost the Rillaboom and Grimmsnarl. Both of our Dynamaxes are over, so I'm going to skip ahead. I bring Dusclops back in here, and he brings in Porygon. Alright, now, this next turn is tricky because he didn't protect last turn. So he can safely go for a protect this turn, and that's what I'm thinking. What makes the most sense for him? If I was him, protect the Metagross and Trick Room, right? So what I click on here is I click Trick Room to reverse his Trick Room, and, well, no, that doesn't make any sense. What do I click here? I click Trick Room, and then I try to put his Porygon to sleep, so I don't know what in the world I was doing here. Like, this is just a terrible move, okay? Like, if I'm going to try to put the Porygon 2 to sleep, why am I going Trick Room? So, what else could I have done? I could have gone Brick Break on Porygon 2, because he did still have screens up at this point. You know, I could have gone for Nightshade just in case he doesn't protect the Metagross. Um, or the obvious play here is to just go for Earth Power on Metagross in case he doesn't protect it and knock it out, and then the game's just over. But he again reads into me not attacking his Metagross, so my opponent makes a great play here and doesn't protect the Metagross. And it just ends up being just an awful turn for me. So he doubles into the Venusaur. My Sleep Powder missed, and I set up Trick Room. So just like absolutely an awful turn. Just awful. Alright, so what does my opponent do here? Well, now he can knock out the Venusaur. So I go for Nightshade, and I just click Sleep Powder because it doesn't really matter what I click here. He's gonna knock me out if he doesn't knock out the Venusaur. Like, that's just stupid. You should knock out the Venusaur. So what he should do is kill the Venusaur and reverse Trick Room. And I believe that's what he does. So Nightshade comes out. He goes for Tri Attack. So what did he do with Metagross here? Iron Head. Okay, that's interesting. So he chooses not to reverse the Trick Room. Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. He should have reversed Trick Room. But he didn't. So Regirock comes out, and now my two Pokemon are slower than his two Pokemon. So what should I do this turn? Well, again, he probably should protect and Trick Room, but I've expected him to do that multiple times now, and he hasn't done it. So now I'm like, okay, I can't expect him to do that. So I'm going to go for Nightshade and Drain Punch. And what does my opponent do? I'm pretty sure he goes for Protect and Trick Room. Like, he just read me really well in this game, and made a lot of great moves. So, yeah, Nightshade doesn't do anything. Drain Punch takes a little bit of damage, but he's going to reverse the Trick Room. So yeah, what could I have done better there? Again, maybe I could have done Trick Room expecting him to make that play and then gone for a Curse. That would have been a great move, because then he would have reversed the Trick Room. I would have set Trick Room back up, and I would have gotten a Curse off. I'd be sitting really pretty. I don't know why I didn't go for a Curse there. A Curse was just an obvious move, in my opinion. Like, if ever there's a time to do a Curse, that was the time for it. And why I didn't do it, I just don't know. But here I'm going to Trick Room and Stomping Tantrum. Now this still puts him in a rough spot because I have Weakness Policy, and he can't knock me out even if he doubles into Regirock. If he goes Iron Head and like Tri Attack into Regirock, Regirock's going to survive, and then he's just activating my Weakness Policy. I'm going to get up Trick Room, and he's screwed. So I'm still in a really good spot here. This is still really difficult for my opponent, but I still should have played that last move better. Now he goes for Rock Slide, probably hoping to get me to flinch. And then he goes for Tri Attack, probably hoping to get a burn. Now, luckily for him, he does get a flinch, but it was on Regirock, not on the Dusclops. So lucky for me, I get up Trick Room. Now, with Regirock flinching, I don't kill the Metagross, but at least I got the Trick Room up that was a bigger deal here in my opinion. And I didn't get a status condition, so that's a big deal. But now we're right back where we were a turn before. So now we're in the same spot where, okay, does he protect and Trick Room again? So should I click Trick Room and Curse? You know, we're right back where we were the turn before. So I believe what I went for here is a Pain Split on the Porygon 2. So that's going to take a good chunk of his health away. And then if I follow that up with a Drain Punch, it just kind of takes advantage of any situation that he could possibly do here. So if he doesn't reverse the Trick Room, he's screwed, right? Because he's going to have hardly any hit points left on his Porygon, and I'll be able to knock him out before he can get up the Trick Room. So this basically forces him to go Trick Room or the game's over. If he does go for Trick Room here, I'm still going to get a ton of damage on him, forcing him to click Recover on the next move, which is going to allow me to put the Trick Room right back up. So really, it's a safe play. It makes a lot of sense. So I think I made the smart play here. Again, I'm not really that scared about Metagross because he's not going to do that much damage into Dusclops right now. And if he attacks the Regirock, it's just going to activate my weakness policy. So this is a really safe play here. Pain Split takes a good chunk of damage. Drain Punch also does a good chunk of damage. And then I'm not sure what he went for here. So he goes for Ice Beam. So perfect. Now the game's over, right? So what he was thinking, and this is, I mean, this is why this game is tough, right? Because what he's thinking there is what I said a turn before. So had I gone with Trick Room to reverse his Trick Room, and I had gone for a Curse, then his double up would have knocked out Dusclops, and that probably would have won him the game. So that's why my play was safe. I get health back for Dusclops. He now takes that double up, and now there's absolutely nothing my opponent can do. I can knock out the Porygon 2. He cannot reverse the Trick Room. His Metagross cannot kill the Regirock, and this game is won. Yeah, so I don't think my opponent made a bad play there. Had he reversed the Trick Room there, I still think I'm in pretty good shape. Looking at this, I could have, gone back and set up Trick Room again. So, like I said, I think that was the safest play for me, and it worked out in my favor. This game is won now. I just want to do both fighting moves here into the Porygon to make sure that it gets knocked out, and then it's game over. So there's really nothing he can do at this point. So Brick Break, Drain Punch, that's enough to take out Porygon 2. And he can't knock out both my Pokemon with Metagross. That's just not going to happen. So I think he targeted the Dusclops here. Yep. And like I said, game's just over now. I can Nightshade, stopping Tantrum. He probably just forfeits. Yeah, so he just cancels the match. Alright, so I evened things up here. Now I'm feeling pretty good. I got the momentum. It's evened up. It's going to, winner take all game 3. So I'm thinking the same thing. I want to come out aggressive. I want to put pressure on him. I'm feeling good about myself now. And, I'm expecting to win this game here and take the set. So I'm thinking based off my last lead, I went Torkoal, Venusaur, and it worked really well. So now I'm thinking this might be the game where he brings Moltres. So if I lead Grimmsnarl Regirock, that sets me up great against a Moltres. Looks like I'm thinking about leading Regirock Dusclops. I think that's what I end up going with. Because what I'm thinking is, I definitely want Dusclops. Now, I'd love to have Grimmsnarl, but if I go Regirock Dusclops, that puts him in a tough spot. The first play, does he target Dusclops to stop me from getting up Trick Room, and then I can just get off some max attacks with Regirock. And then in the back, I got Torkoal and Venusaur. Torkoal, who can take advantage of Trick Room, and if Trick Room's not up, then he can get the Sun up for Venusaur. So I go with a really aggressive team here, with a lot of damage and a lot of flexibility. And I think is, you know, a great call here for this last game. I want to put on pressure. I want to be aggressive. So he just goes with the same lead that he's been bringing every single time. Metagross and Grimmsnarl. So, like I said, this still puts on a lot of pressure for him because now he's got to think about, okay, do I try to double into that Dusclops and stop it from setting up Trick Room? And even if he does that, I don't think he can stop Dusclops from setting up Trick Room with his two Pokemon. I don't think they can do enough damage. So it's like, okay, I know I can get up Trick Room here. I know I can Dynamax Regirock. What I'm tempted to do here is go for Curse and Trick Room. But if I go for Curse and he just goes Max Steel Spike, then that's a really bad play for me. Right? So I'm like, okay, I'm tempted to go for the Curse, but this move is safe and it's going to do a lot of damage. So I'm expecting him to switch out the Metagross, which he does do. But again, I just wanted to play it safe. Curse would have been phenomenal here, but I just didn't want to take that risk. This is a safer play, and it's still a strong play. So I'm still going to get a good chunk of damage onto the Grimmsnarl. I'm still going to get up the Trick Room, which means I'm going to be able to do Brick Breaks to get rid of his screens. So as tempting as Curse would have been, as good as Curse would have been, you know, it's tie 1-1. I don't want to just lose my Regirock on the first turn of the game. So there goes the Reflect. So I do a Rock Fall onto Grimmsnarl, which takes close to half of his health, and I get up Trick Room. Alright, so next turn. What am I thinking? So I'm thinking I could Brick Break myself to activate my weakness policy, because I definitely want to get my weakness policy off. But I'm also kind of hopeful. I'm like, okay, he could set off the weakness policy with his Rillaboom. I don't expect him to do that, but maybe he sets off the weakness policy with his Rillaboom, and I really want to get rid of his screens, because if I can Brick Break and get rid of his screens, I'm still going to do a ton of damage. So I go for getting rid of his screens and hoping that he activates my weakness policy. And I go for Rockfall onto Rillaboom. So, like I said, I'm hoping I get rid of the screens, I knock out Rillaboom, and if I'm lucky, maybe he sets off my weakness policy. And I'm thinking, okay, I can always activate my weakness policy next turn. What I don't want to have happen is break myself for no reason, and then he activates, or then he hits me with a super effective move, and now he still has screens up. I don't know if this was the smartest move, but my opponent ends up making a very poor move, and you know, it goes my way. So he ends up scary facing his own Rillaboom to make his Rillaboom slower than my Regirock, and then he goes for, well, my Brick Break's still going to go first because my Dusclops is still slower than Rillaboom, but then he goes for a Wood Hammer. So it takes close to 50% of my health, but I'll take that trade-off every single day. Like, that's a really bad move for my opponent. You know, he tries to knock out the Regirock, but Regirock's just way too bulky, especially when Dynamaxed. That's just not going to get the damage output that he needed. I mean, it's not even close. He doesn't even do 50% of my health. Now my weakness policy is activated, the screens are gone, and now, like, it's just perfect for me, right? So, it's funny, my opponent messaged me after the game, and he said that Woodhammer is gonna haunt me in my dreams tonight. Just not a good play from him. If he had gone for like a knockoff onto my Regirock, that could have been really smart. Then I can't activate a weakness policy. And I don't know if Rockfall would have taken out Rillaboom. No screens, max Rockfall. I don't know that that takes out Rillaboom. So he could have been sitting really pretty after that turn. But he made a mistake. Works for me. And now I'm just in phenomenal shape. I don't remember what I did here. I'm guessing, yeah, Max Knuckle and Brick Break. So what I'm thinking is that he is going to set up Reflect and then Trick Room. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to Brick Break to get rid of the Reflect, and then I'm going to go for Max Knuckle. That might not kill Porygon, but then I'll be at +3 attack. Yeah, and I'm still going to be in really good shape. So there's the Reflect. Again, the Brick Break will get rid of the Reflect. And Max Knuckle is now going to put me at +3. I don't think it is enough to kill Porygon. No. But I'm at +3. It just, again, puts on a lot of pressure. So he reverses the Trick Room, which makes sense. And my Dynamax is over, but I'm still in great shape. Again, being at +3. So even though he has now reversed the Trick Room, I can just set the Trick Room back up. I skipped too far ahead here. I don't know what I did with the Regirock here, so let's see. So I do go Drain Punch into Porygon, and I go Trick Room. So I want to get rid of this Porygon, I want it gone, and I want Trick Room up. So now he won't, you know, my goal is to make it so that he cannot reverse the Trick Room, because I have Torkoal sitting in the back, and even if his Metagross is Dynamaxed, Torkoal's just going to annihilate that thing if Trick Room is set up. So I want to set the Trick Room back up, and I'm thinking, okay, either he recovers and I'm still going to get a lot of damage on him, or if he doesn't recover with Porygon, I'm just going to knock him out with the Drain Punch, right? So, yeah. So he goes for Tri-Attack, which is smart, and he freezes me, which is huge. So since he freezes me, I can't knock him out, but I do get Trick Room up. So now this is a really tough situation, because if you don't know, freeze can last basically forever as far as I know. So now I just have to pray that I thaw out. I mean, this is even worse than getting burned. So I need to go for Brick Break and Drain Punch and just hope that I thaw out. And if I don't thaw out, I'm in really rough shape. That being said, I do have Venusaur in the back with his speed and possible sleep and whatnot. But this is really bad here if I stay frozen. So that's like the one thing that just could not happen to me. So good play by my opponent. He gets lucky with the freeze. And now I just gotta pray that I thaw out. So if I thaw out, it's game over. If I don't thaw out, we have a game. So he withdraws Grimmsnarl, which is very smart. And brings out Metagross. I go Brick Break, and now if I don't thaw out, he is going to reverse Trick Room, and he is in phenomenal shape. I get lucky, I do thaw out, I do knock out the Porygon, and now the game's in my hands. So at this point it's a 4-on-2. There's nothing he can do. So I know that I have Trick Room up, and I have Torkoal sitting in the back. So all I have to do here is knock out Grimmsnarl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for Brick Break to make sure that whatever screen he puts up, I'm going to break it, and then I'm going to Drain Punch the Grimmsnarl to knock it out. And then it doesn't matter what Metagross does because he won't be able to get up a light screen. Torkoal can come in and kill the Metagross. So this game is mine. It's just an obvious move. Knock out the Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl can't protect himself. So get that thing out of here and let Torkoal finish things off. And there's absolutely no reason to do anything else like that. It's just by far the smartest play is get this Grimmsnarl out of here. So I go Brick Break. He didn't even try to set up a screen. I don't know what he was going to go for. But there we go. Knock out the Grimmsnarl. I'm pretty sure he knocks out Regirock here with a Steel Spike, but it just doesn't matter, right? Torkoal is going to come in, and the game's over. So now I can just click Eruption. It's a single target Eruption, boosted by the sun. There's just no way he survives this, right? Base 150 attack, boosted by the sun, and I have Charcoal. I max attack. Yeah, there's nothing he can do here. But he still takes his time here making his decision. Alright, so here's Eruption, and there goes Metagross, and I win the set. So, you know, after losing that first game, like I said, put a lot of pressure on me. So I wanted to come back and be aggressive in the last two games. Like I said, this is my first time playing an event like this. I've never played a best of 3. I've never played a tournament like this before. So to come out and win my first match was just huge for me. It's a big confidence boost. And now I'm feeling really good going into the next couple rounds.